Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Realm Royale update. We're back here with the latest and greatest of Realm Royale. Again, to reiterate, if you guys have been watching, we've been iterating a lot on the core gameplay, looking at feedback, looking at how the game is performing. Obviously, we've started with a lot of different options in the game, and we've kind of pared down what were the challenges with the game that was being played then. Obviously, we started with classes initially, but there were issues with being able to loot the right thing. Sometimes you come upon loot that wasn't for your class and it was kind of useless to you. And so we turned to doing no classes.
So you're going to ask me, what are we going to do next?
What are we going to do next?
All right.
I was mid-explanation, but I could see in your face that you didn't want the long form.
Well, I think the people on the stream already know all the trials and tribulations we have gone through.
Of Realm Royale?
Of Realm Royales. And obviously we're trying to solidify it at this point to make sure that we have something that's fun for everyone and design-wise works out.
Yep.
And take into account all of the feedback that we keep getting, even though many people believe we don't take the feedback. We do work on that.
So what are we going to do next?
Our next patch should be arriving on Tuesday night, hopefully.
Next week?
Next week.
Yep.
Probably in the earlier part of next week, although it's a possibility that if it doesn't work out, it'll extend itself. But right now, we're hoping for Tuesday night. And we're going to have a form of classes back.
Okay.
And when I say a form of classes, we're going to describe to you a little bit more of how we intend to work with that. We basically wanted to take some of the good parts of what the classes had before.
Sure.
And some of the good parts of the no classes and try to marry them together in a format that would make more sense for our players.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we're going to give you a little more details on that. And do you want to begin by sharing what that would be?
Sure. So we'll be doing...
So let me explain something. These are, just as a preface to that, these classes... No, go ahead.
No. You started.
It's all yours.
You started. Go ahead and finish.
Go ahead.
No, you had this.
No.
I'm ready for it.
I'm going to listen to your version.
Okay. So we want to make sure that the class play style is maintained, right? So we're going to be introducing class perks or class passives. So you will actually be selecting a class at the beginning of the game, be it warrior or assassin or mage. But obviously the issue we had with the class system, the hard class system before, was you'd find loot that wasn't for you and it limited the loot options. So we wanted to find a way to get the class experience and the playstyle difference that we had before while still allowing open loot across the map. And this was the solution we came up with. So you'll start the game, say as a warrior, as you see on screen right now, and you'll come with a list of passives that enhance the abilities that warrior is good at and the weapons that warrior is good at. Now, you can still use other weapons. You don't necessarily have to use heroic leap. You don't have to use throwing axe. You don't have to use shouts. But if you do use those will be effective, and you'll be encouraged to kind of make that play style the way you're going to work towards endgame and in Realm Royale.
Right. So, So the big difference in this is that while we have classes, they are not going to be only this weapon and only this movement ability. Basically, everybody can use everything, but the class that you select, and we only have 4 classes to start off with: the warrior, mage, hunter, and assassin.
Yep.
We're also if you've noticed, moved a little bit more towards focusing on a fantasy theme rather than having the automatic weapons and some of the things that we think take away from that fantasy theme.
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to go back to that as much as possible and have classes which are not restricted but enhanced.
Right. So it goes the opposite direction. So you're encouraged to find the right weapons. So if you're playing hunter, you'll still want to try and get your longbow because you, as a hunter, will deal more damage or be more effective with a longbow than any other class in the entire game. But it means that if you find a throwing axe, you can still use it until you find your way up to that longbow. So it feels like a little bit of best of both worlds and finds a way to keep loot open and feel that Battle Royale experience while still allowing you to specialize into a class play style.
Right.
Now, obviously, we would like to make sure that there are some weapons that are pretty general and abilities that are pretty general, so it's not just only those classes there. So we will be making some of the weapons in the game that feel a little bit more non-class specific into general weapons.
So just to describe that, weapons and some abilities will come in a few different categories. They are class weapons.
Right.
Although everybody can use them, but some classes use them better than others. There are what we call common low rarity weapons, which are come just in common and in rare form.
They don't come in the higher rarities. They're just there.
They're not super strong. They might be like
Right.
a simple throwing axe, right? Versus
or a sword, a basic sword.
A basic sword, something like that, where they don't really go to high level. They're designed more for the early gameplay.
They're kind of cannon fodder. They help you pick up the early game, but you're not going to hold on to it forever.
And then there's both class and some specific weapons that only come in the higher tiers of epic and legendary. So the potion launcher is available to everyone, but it only comes in epic and legendary levels. So you'll have to basically
a little bit harder to find, but powerful when you get it.
Right.
And these general weapons, will be by default powerful enough to be used on their own without a specialization, but they won't be as good as, say, a hunter using a longbow.
Right. And some other things to do to support the classes. One, the skins will be associated with particular classes. So if you have those are all warrior skins, as an example. So if you have a warrior, you'll be able to use any one of those skins. People will be able to recognize you a little bit more for the type of gameplay. You'll most likely have an axe or a hammer, which is also coming into this, and have a little bit more of an easier time understanding where they're at and give it a little bit more flavor.
So you'll see what they're kind of working towards. You'll know that if you're playing with a warrior-skinned player, they're probably looking for a throwing axe or a throwing hammer or a sword, and so you'll want to kind of drop those for them because you know they'll be good at it. And so obviously with the group or squad-based gameplay with fours, you may want to spread out the classes and make sure everyone gets the class or the weapon that they're good at.
Right.
And obviously now that the loot drops from enemies in its entirety, it's a little bit easier to kind of pick and choose as you go along.
Right. The other thing we're doing to support the classes is the forge, if you want to talk about that.
Sure. So the obviously the challenge with specializing into specific weapons abilities is finding them in the world and getting to that. And so in the forge, we plan to only drop weapons and abilities that your class is good at.
So you'll be able to forge. You will get one of the weapons or abilities that are specific to your class. Even though anybody else can use it, you know that you can use it better than others.
Right. And each class, which is important to note, will actually have more than just one. So the hunter's not just longbow. So it would be longbow, crossbow, and shortbow, for example.
Right.
And so on the forge, you only get those weapons. You won't get weapons that aren't for your class.
Right. So we're trying to come up with 3 weapons that each class can use.
Right.
And there, when you forge, you're going to get one of those 3
so like
weapons.
sword, axe, hammer, or longbow, shortbow, crossbow, those kind of things that are specific to the class.
Right.
Or like lightning staff, ice staff, stone staff.
Right.
Right. So elemental weapons for those. So then when you go to the forge, obviously if you get enough shards to forge, which it is still pretty challenging to get enough shards to forge, you know that you'll be getting weapons that your class is good at.
That's correct.
Right. So on top of that, we also be... did you want to talk about any of the talents?
Talents? You mean like a skill tree thing?
Skill tree, yeah.
Yeah, we do. One of the other elements we're going to work towards is a skill tree system to help you kind of personalize your character a little bit more when you go into the match. Still be a fair skill tree system so everybody just has more opportunities. So what we're looking for is options. So for example, we do want to keep runes in the game. We may remove some of the runes and add some additional runes in the game. But an example of a skill tree would be that, let's say there was no chicken runes right now, or we change them around. You might get a choice of one of 3 options, like faster chicken, more health chicken, or revive faster chicken.
Right.
And you just pick one of those in your skill tree. Or another skill tree option may have to do with the type of damage that you do. More damage at longer distance, more damage shorter distance, etc.
Yep. So a way to specialize that play style and then kind of enhance that class-based gameplay.
Right. Some people mentioned it's a little bit like the WoW skill tree. Is that correct?
It's pretty like that. Yeah. So those are the things that we had on the docket for here. So we're going to talk about, obviously, classes returning in some form, but still kind of maintain the benefit of the open loot, adding in specializations for the classes where they look for weapons and other things like that, and then make sure the forgers bring those out. Is there anything that we wanted to talk about besides that?
Those are my elements. What do you have?
Those are all the notes. So I think we can open up to questions here. I'm sure if anyone has any questions in chat, just go ahead and post those up, and we'll go through those.
And we do plan to activate the duos queue soon as well.
Duos coming soon.
Right.
You heard it here first.
We also are removing the confirmation to join the match from the timed queues.
Time queues.
So if you hit it and you forget about it or there's no bing, you're still going to the match.
You'll load into the
and you'll
match.
be fine. And rather than having a lot of classes right now, our intention is still to expand on what the classes can find in the world.
More depth instead of breadth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Add more to the classes themselves.
So let's see if we have any questions here.
Questions on the Battle Pass, which we did talk about last time.
Also, for those of you that know Paladins, Chris Larson will be moving to manage the project more soon, so there won't be quite as many changes as there were in the past.
Okay.
For those of you that want to know that we have some level of solidifying of where we're at, and then we're going to push it out to console. So all of that is going to happen
Coming to
relatively
console.
soon. Yeah.
All righty. There's the questions about console. Armor potion shortage.
Armor potion shortage is actually intentional. So there will always be harder to find armor than it will be to find health.
Right.
In there. So, but once we add the skill tree, we may add additional features for what you can find or how you can use things like armor potions. We think that it's an important part to conserve those, so you can have them towards the end game. Otherwise, it's too easy to replenish your health and armor every time. So we let you replenish health fairly easily. A little bit harder to do it in the armor, so you have to be more diligent about how you use it. So it's a consumable that needs to be out there.
Saw someone asking about. Oh, I missed it. Craft a sniper.
Some people are asking about second abilities. The intention is still right now to give you more weapons that have alternate abilities associated with them. And we're going to see how well that works and how well it all works on the control as well. See how new players are dealing with the number of features and buttons they have to press while they're fighting.
PTS release?
PTS would be probably on Tuesday.
Okay. What will happen to runes?
We're still keeping runes that are just going to be modified. Some may become a little weaker. Some may change around. Some more will be added. But we do like the rune system that you get to find every once in a while. So they're not going away. They're just going to be changed around some.
Why did we do all magic chests?
We did all magic chests because people were having a hard time looting, especially if you're a newer player. That was happening a lot. You'd follow a group that'd be looting everything around, and then you'd find just very few things.
Right.
So we just wanted to make it easier for everyone to get the loot, get more chicken nuggets, so you can get your additional items and cosmetics. And we may have to balance that some more. Maybe we have too much loot. Maybe we don't have enough. Then we'll have to take a look at that to see if any changes need to be made. But I think that in general, it's more helpful for everyone to have loot. Just like the loot that's dropping from everyone right now, we just wanted to make it a little easier to get the loot.
Shoulder swap option. We've had this question a few times.
If we get something like that in, it's going to be in the future. It's definitely not on the short list right now.
It's not a trivial thing to do. It's actually quite a lot of effort goes into making that happen. Thor is asking about a possible hammer.
There is a hammer coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's
pretty cool.
One of the new weapons. There's a few new weapons that will be coming with this patch. It's not a huge number of weapons or abilities, but there's a few that we're either returning or adding in, which we intend to expand on them to make them even more interesting in the future. So right now you may have a hammer. I think the hammer goes back and forth.
It boomerangs right now. Yeah.
Like it's a boomerang type of hammer. And then in the future you might find other variations, which I'm not promising yet, but you might have one with, let's say, a right click that lets you teleport to the hammer, right? So this is where the additional ability with a right click may come in.
Which replaces the ADS zoom, right?
Right. So instead of, who needs an ADS when you're hammering somebody from close by?
I ask myself that every day.
Yeah. So you might be able to, just like we have in Smite, you can teleport to the hammer. We might put a feature like that in, have another alternative to the weapon. So we want to bring weapon variations. There might be a bow that shoots normal, and then the right click might do the equivalent of what the Paladins did with knockback shot, or different things like that. And we'll see how those work out. But we want to bring in other alternatives for people.
What are the 3 assassin weapons?
The 3 assassin weapons, I believe, are sniper rifle, the
Venom pistol.
A Venom pistol, although it'll be an improved
It'll be
version.
a better Venom pistol.
And
Heirloom rifle.
And the heirloom rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Something for long range, medium range, and short range. Or a version of the heirloom rifle. It might not necessarily behave the way it behaves right now, but we're just using that model for now.
It seems like people are digging the Venom pistol. It was fun. It was just a little weak. That was the only problem with it.
Yeah. It's basically a poison pistol. It puts a nasty dots on you.
Don't. What about Deathmatch?
Right now, we're very concerned about having too many modes, obviously, with the size of the player base. As soon as we go to console, and we plan to have crossplay as well, we'll be able to turn on a lot more modes for people to experiment with. Let's see, any more questions? Are there non-class skins? We're considering that. I think right now we're making them all class-based. Is that right?
All class-based.
Just so people know who's playing what.
Right.
It's more for visual notification that you know what to do versus...
you see a mage, you know kind of what they're working towards.
Right.
Any other questions?
Tourneys will be coming back. We still plan to do more tourneys. We're just trying to get it going. Let's see.
Someone says that you're a hot dog sandwich. I don't know what that means.
I feel like a hot dog sandwich a lot of times.
What does that mean?
I'm a dog that's hot.
You're a hot dog.
I go outside, I'm sweaty.
Yeah, okay.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Might be a little too complicated.
Hot dog sandwich.
Third ability. We talked about that.
What are the mage class weapons? Ice staff, stone staff, lightning staff.
Yeah. And they will be behaving slightly different than what you've seen in the past. Except for the triple shot one. Still
stone spear.
Triple
Yeah.
shot. Probably be nerfed a little bit because there's a lot of people that are complaining that it's too strong.
So we're kind of looking at all the weapons and how they behave and looking at ways to kind of make them more class-based.
Right.
And then the other class bonuses are something like if we still have that image initially, you'll see some of the perks or passives that come with the class. But it's things that feel like the playstyle is there. So warrior we feel is very aggressive, close range, kind of high mobility gets in your face. And so you see that increased maximum health, healing taken, things like that help the warrior play that specific playstyle. And then each class will have a list of these that go along with that vein.
So a sniper may do some additional headshot damage, for example, right? And give me another one as an example.
Stealth or movement speed or reload speed, things like that to kind of play more assassin-like. The hunter will have more bursts of movement or maybe counters to reveals or ways to reveal or more traps for the hunter, things like that.
All the movements are still used by all classes, but if you use the class movement, then it will be an improved version of it, or it'll have a much lower cooldown or something that makes it more valuable for you.
The hunter using dodge roll will be far more effective than any other person using dodge roll.
Some people are concerned about the red outlines. The reason we have the red outlines is because our characters come in a whole variety of different colors and skins and shapes, and identification of friend or foe becomes a little bit more complex that way because we don't have name tags or anything else like that. So we tried to do a fairly subtle version of an outline. It's not strong like Paladins has, so people are able to see friend versus foes on it much more easily.
Yeah.
If it becomes so much of a problem, we'll look at it. I don't think it fundamentally changes the gameplay that much because we're a little bit less of a hunt and find a dot on the screen because the battles are longer. So they usually don't really take away from the shooting experience.
Any other questions?
Armor coming back. We'll still look at armor at some point.
Starting abilities.
We're actually considering giving everybody one starting ability. So we'll probably give people maybe a starting movement ability that's a weaker version of their class one.
Like common or maybe common minus
so,
one.
Yeah, you might get like the crappy dodge roll, but it's better than no dodge roll.
Like dodge log roll or something like that.
And then once we have the skill tree system, you'll probably be able to select, do I want to start with a movement ability, a weapon, or a regular ability? And that's kind of the skill tree concept as well. Seen people looting through walls. Does that actually happen?
If they're revealed.
If they're revealed, but not...
Not normally, no.
Yeah, not normally. Okay, so I don't know what that's from.
Yep.
There's a lot of people saying you can see people through walls.
Well, if they're revealed, yeah, if there's a sensor drone down, you can see them through walls.
Yeah, that's not what they're asking. Why do we see people looting through walls?
We'll see a
Can
lot
you
of
see?
those.
Maybe we need to check on that.
We'll check on that.
We'll check if you can see people looting through walls.
We'll get top men on the case.
Right.
Top men and women.
All right, let's see if there's any more.
But that looks like all the questions. Seeing a lot of repeats now.
See, you can see their loot with a name on it while they're looting.
Oh, the loot timers.
Oh,
loot
that's
timers,
why.
Yeah.
All right, we'll fix that. That's a
Yep.
bug.
Yep.
All right, make sure whoever's watching from the development guys, just
I'll send them a note.
that makes sense.
I'll
That's
send
a
them a
bug. You should not be saying
easy
that.
enough.
So that's a bug that we can fix.
Okay.
Got
Well,
it.
I think that's about it, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy this news patch, which will come in a few days. And give us all your feedback, hopefully as constructive as possible. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
She's firing up that body